All right, episode 7. So I am very excited to bring this subject in today. So today, it's a new year. New year, new you time, right? It's the New Year's resolutions times. It's the time for another chance. It's the time for another year. All the things that are being said right now. Can you agree? And perhaps you still set intentions and goals, or perhaps you now laugh at it all because you've made so many New Year's resolutions in the past that you maybe didn't follow through on. And so laughing at it all maybe helps. And it has to happen so that you don't feel that disappointment in self or in life. And this is a super common behavior because, and I really wanted to touch on it for everyone to be aware of. And it's a little different type of self-talk session today because it's all about how to be wary of the parts of us that revert to a common program as a way of sabotage, like to make it not a big deal and to kind of laugh it off. And first off, there's so many ways that we sabotage, and we sabotage ourselves, we sabotage our goals, we sabotage our connections. And a lot of the time we're doing it unconsciously, as I talk about a lot in these spaces. And mainly it's because, look, our mind's an incredible thing. It really is. And its main job is to keep you safe. And it only knows familiar and unfamiliar. And it doesn't know the difference between you creating the life that you've never had, but you've always wanted, and a grizzly bear chasing you in an open field. Like, it actually doesn't know the difference. They are both scary and unfamiliar situations. And so the mind's geared to actually protect you from them. And I often say that when we set goals and intentions, and I'd love to hear if you have experienced this, when we make vision boards, or when we decide that we want something, or we journal on something, or we scream for help to the universe, it's actually answered immediately. We're immediately provided with clues and pathways to go down that are unfamiliar. They're unfamiliar. So our mind actually sees the pathway that's being presented to us towards everything that we're asking for as a grizzly bear chasing us in an open field. It's like, oh, hell no, we ain't going there. We don't know what's over there. And I don't know where we picked up that the path to desire and things that we want is supposed to look or feel a certain way. It's probably a little bit of comparison and watching other people's journeys online, or however you've done that. I don't know where we've picked up if it's supposed to look like maybe another person's experience who got what you want and they got it a certain way, even though I'm not sure that you actually know the path they walked, only watching the success on social media or however you watch it. And when we want something different than we've ever had before, than we've ever experienced in our reality, we have to become something different. Therefore, we have to do things we've never done, never considered doing, never wanted to do even. And most steps of the way, your mind is going to bring up so many incredibly convincing stories and reasons and events to stop you from getting there. Because remember, your mind sees your dream future as terrifyingly unsafe. And so it's just actually doing its job. Its only job is to keep you alive, to keep you safe. But if you're safe, your familiar until now has been broke, has been depressed, has been anxious, has been sick, all the things. If that's been your familiar for years, maybe your whole life, it's going to take some nudging, maybe forceful nudging of yourself to start to create a better familiar. It's going to mean that you're going to have to potentially push yourself into uncomfortable situations way before you feel ready in order to start to become that something different, to start to match up with this different reality that you want. Like, it's kind of like a push point. And this is where so many people self-sabotage, and usually unconsciously, because all of those thoughts are so convincing. Like, oh, you can't show up for your business today because the kids need taken care of. You can't do your meditation today because your partner needs his lunch made. You can't do this because you said you'd get into work early. Like, you can't do, like, there's so many thoughts. And then there's even events that we unconsciously create in life from our limiting behaviors that then we decide need to get in the way of us doing the uncomfortable steps to create the future. Or there's the limiting beliefs of, well, I don't think it looks that way. I don't think that that's the path because I don't recognize it. I don't think it looks like Sally's path when she got everything she wanted, even though you probably have no idea what Sally actually had to do. Just saying. Sally is a fictional character, by the way, but for some reason, that's the name that always comes to me. And that's why it's usually only when someone has destroyed their life or hit rock bottom or lost all their money and relationships and health or mindset that they'll actually go, oh, fuck it. I'm going to go do that crazy thing that I don't even know how I'm going to do. And I'm going to give you some examples from my life. And my intention is that you'll actually start moving before you hit rock bottoms, because they suck. And you can. I went to Mexico. I went to Central America for the plan was at least, well, the plan was forever. I went in 2016 and I planned to go with 20K in the bank. And by the time it rolled around for me to leave, I had 7K. I went anyway. And that nudge meant that I had to get creative. I had to find ways to make money. I had to find ways to get free accommodation. I had to be smart. I had to be resourceful. I had to do more research. I had to connect with more people in new ways to create agreements so that I could work for exchange and that type of thing. And I did it. And I actually came back with money, which was pretty awesome. In 2018, I left Australia. I went to India for a couple of months, and then I decided just to pick up and move to Bali. I had less than $5,000 to my name. I had debt that had to be paid. And I just had a new business idea in my head, and I just left. And in that couple of years that I was living in Indonesia, I made money. I found all sorts of ways to earn money. I did lots of different collaborations. I ran retreats. I had my online business income, and I also healed my body. I learned to surf. I sold out retreats, and then 2020 hit. What else? I invested in my first coach when I didn't have a clue, and she knows this. I didn't have a clue how I was going to make the weekly payment. Like, at the time, I was barely making minimum wage. In the midst of coming out of 2020, no government support, had kind of been zeroed out from all the events and had to start again. And I said, yep, I'll invest with you for a year. I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but I know that that is going to nudge me to find the ways. And not only did I find the ways to pay it and beyond, it brought me back to myself, like working with someone a great coach, really brought me back to myself, and it set me on a path to healing all my trauma and expanding my business to what you guys see today. And then last year, because it is last year now, I invested well over 30K now in higher education when I had, okay, this is it, guys. When I invested in my education, I had nothing left in the bank. Like, to pay the deposit, I was at zero. I was listening to a lot of Grant Cardone, and he's like, zero out the beginning of each year and it creates momentum. And I was like, okay, Grant Cardone. And I did it. I gave my only money for the deposit for this education. And this was like, at the time, it was like $10,000, and then there was going to be more. And I'd already invested more before that in other things. And I still had debt to my name at the time. And I was literally making less than what I'd just like said to invest per annum at the time. In doing that, it turned out to be my first 6-figure year in business. So when we actually lean into the most uncomfortable stuff, well before we're ready, having no idea how the frick we're going to do it, or why we're doing, or how it's even going to get us to the thing, knowing that if it's uncomfortable, if it's unfamiliar, it's actually the path, because we have to do the weird things. We have to lean into the new things to become that new version of self. If we just keep doing the same shit over and over again, it's the definition of insanity when we're expecting a new result, right? So how can you start to look at your life and look at the things that are in front of you and being presented to you and offered to you and mentioned to you, and actually start to lean in? Because you've asked for a sign, you've asked for more, you've asked for solutions, you've asked for something better. We all have, because we're humans. We actually are geared to always want more. You're unconscious, that's how it works. You're always going to want more, always. Which is great, because it actually means you can do and be and create anything you want endlessly. And you can take that to like a little level, or you can take it all the way, and that's a choice. But please don't just do nothing, because that's a bit of a waste of a life, right? And the point here is, if you want to wait for rock bottom, you can. It's not nice. Or you can create enough discomfort in the familiar to take action every single day towards those unfamiliar things that will create the life that you want, which will mean the more you move towards that, the more you achieve in the unfamiliar, the more confidence you build in yourself, being like, oh my God, I did that weird unfamiliar thing and I aced it. Or I failed, but I learned this thing and it got me closer to this thing, or it connected me to this thing. Like, it's almost addictive stepping into that space. I swear, it's so much fun. And going back to what I said in the beginning, sometimes I hear very snarky comments said about the coaching and healing and self-development and growth industry and community, and like making fun of it in an offhanded way, or dismissing any of the teachings, usually when they haven't actually been tried or applied by the person making the comment. And if you have a shit life right now, chances are you're around some people like this, or maybe you are one of them. I've been guilty of that from time to time. While I clearly have had an incredibly rewarding and advancing experience in this industry and this community and this work, I've also along the way had some really unpleasant experiences with unintegrated coaches or practitioners or preachers or leaders. And I know now that it was what I needed at the time. And over time, I have had to learn to challenge my own snarky comments about people I come across doing similar work to those negative experiences that I've had. Because it's not the work that's actually the problem. Sometimes it's just that the person teaching it hasn't cleared their container to do so without bringing maybe some of their negative programs into it. And I'll leave it at that. But if you've had a negative experience, or if you've watched a negative experience in the realm of the work that you know is going to get you towards the things that you really want. Like, you're seeing successful people in the world and you know they've done self-development, but then you've had a negative experience in self-development. So you're like, oh, I'm not going to do it, except you know that it's the key. So keep finding the people that you want to work with, keep coming into new groups, keep connecting with new containers of people, like keep leaning into that unfamiliar, because you'll find what works eventually when you're actually ready to work. And sometimes, like I said, it means that you have to create enough negative stuff in your life to actually finally move. And I know that this was always just a reminder for myself not to put everyone who does a similar thing in the same box, and remember that I can always learn more about anyone before I choose to work with them or step into doing practices that they're talking about. And this challenge on myself has been hard, and it's also been incredibly beneficial. And I've always lent into it when I was really ready to receive the thing. And like I said, sometimes it was because I'd created enough pain to actually have to move. And so how can you start to take an active approach to, instead of waiting for the pain to be so bad that you have to move, otherwise you're just going to ace it. It's a reality for a lot of people. How can you actually start to create enough discomfort in your comfortable familiar that sucks to lean into practices that might be uncomfortable but are going to create change? And can you start to open your eyes and your energy a little, and maybe recognize that every time you're asking for more or help along the way, things do begin to present themselves. People slide into your DMs, strangers do. They did in mine. Ads pop up on Instagram. You're like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder. But then you keep scrolling. Maybe you bump into someone at the cafe that you haven't seen in a long time. Talk to them. Thoughts pop into your head that maybe you should go and do something, or call someone, or connect with someone. And those are the feathers. And sometimes they're a little bit more like a brick, and I'll explain the analogy in a moment. Sometimes the brick is a complete loss, a breakup, a heartbreak, a betrayal, an injury, or an accident. Sometimes it's a diagnosis or a sickness. Sometimes it's drama or an uncomfortable change. The question is, are you pushing against these events that occur, or can you start choosing to tell a new story that you ask for more? And so these events that maybe create a little bit of or discomfort are actually happening for you. They're actually the path being laid out in front of you to start walking on. And are you doing that, or are you pushing against? Now, those of you who haven't heard me talk about the feather, the brick, and the truck, sometimes the universe, God, energy, higher power, whatever it is that you resonate with the most, sends us messages like a feather, like a whisper. It's just like, hey, you maybe you're sitting in the comfort for too long, or you're going down the wrong way right now that's not serving you. And it gives us those little whispers, those little feather tickles. And when we ignore them, then we get a brick to the head. And the brick to the head is usually pretty freaking uncomfortable, pretty upsetting, pretty challenging, doesn't quite kill us, but it sucks. And sometimes that's when we move. And sometimes it's not. And I encourage you to move before the truck, to move before you get hit by a truck, because the truck won't take you out completely. And it's a lot harder to come back from. And we all have a constant opportunity to be paying attention to the feather, the bricks, those moments, those uncomfortable situations that are being presented for us to lean into, to learn from, to grow from, rather than to sabotage and be like, oh my God, this thing happened. Oh my God, it's so unfair. Why does this always happen to me? How dare that person do that to me? That's pushing against literally the pathway to everything you want, because negative experiences are the way that you either revert into a lesser version of yourself and therefore stay in place and never get what you want, or grow into a higher, better, more incredible, more knowledgeable, more wise version of yourself that actually gets the things that you want, because you've become that new you that aligns with different things, with new things, with better things. And while I'm going into this rabbit hole of self-sabotage talk, I will draw your attention to the word itself, sabotage. Sabotage is to destroy or destruct. And it actually, if we look at the etymology, it stems all the way back to the earlier 20th century. It's from the French sabotage, which is to kick with sabots, which is a kind of shoe. It's like to kick something with your shoe. And it means to willfully destroy. And Jordan Peterson does a great talk on this very thing, to start asking yourself the question, how am I choosing to willfully destroy myself right now? What stupid things am I doing today and every day right now that I know don't get me the outcome that I'm seeking? What ridiculous things am I continuing to do that I know don't serve my mind, my health, my relationships, my finances? Is it your self-talk in your mind? Is it the same behaviors that you perhaps always sink back into once the weekend comes around? Is it being bitter towards others from the past, or maybe anyone who presents solutions in the present that maybe make no sense yet for your future? Or maybe because it's just unfamiliar. We push against a lot of things that are unfamiliar, and yet they're actually the key. Or is it the people that you choose to associate with? Because you actually become the people you choose to associate with. So if you look around and you look at your closest circle and you go, okay, well, do they have money in the bank? Do they have investments? Do they have incredibly beautiful relationships with themselves and with their partners, with their families? Do they have the level of health that I want? Are they going to be healthy when they're old? Are they happy? Because if the answer's to any of those and the people that you're hanging around, it's not about going, ugh, get out of my life, you suck, because you're hanging around with them. So they're kind of similar to you right now. How can you go, okay, I'm going to step back for me right now and start looking at me and start asking myself better questions, because I want something better. And to follow on from that question, how can we start challenging our own self-sabotage moments, our own snarky comments about things that we don't actually know because we haven't fully done them usually, or at least committed to them for a long period of time, because usually it's consistency, not doing things for a week, that creates outcomes. And how can we ask ourselves things like, who do I know has what I want? Are they in my circle? If not, can I reach out to them? Can I connect with them? Can I ask them questions? What's the harm? How could I learn something new today about the subject matter that I'm wanting to focus on, that I'm wanting to transform or create? Just side note, YouTube is free and there's information on there from all of the most successful people in the world. Anyway, how can I start making small habit changes today that, when done every day consistently, I know will change my reality completely 6 months from now? And if I don't know what they are, who do I know who will know this or point me towards them? And if it's not the time for you to invest in support around you, Google's great, YouTube's great. I built businesses learning free things online and applying them. And that's the key. You can learn all you want, but if you don't actually apply it into your life, it's just wasted knowledge. And if you're like me and you're sick of having to ask this question and find all the places where the answers might be, then hire someone. Hire someone who's trained to help you actually change it all into what you want it to be in a short space of time. Like, I did a lot of this on my own for a long time, and it was great, but it took years compared to the last 2 years where I've hired a coach. And it's just been like rocket fuel to the top. It's been amazing. And one thing I've noticed about myself lately, as I begin to make more money that I get to spend, is that I have a huge resistance to spending money on nice things. Like, and this is just an interesting example that I thought I'd leave you guys with in regards to our self-sabotage or our limiting beliefs and how they can so easily creep in and how convincing those thought processes can be. And I have this huge resistance to spending money on nice things, nice clothes or makeup or foods or my hair or beauty products or material things. And yes, I love my simple life in many ways. However, I've got this story running that I don't need any of those things, not because it's actually true, but because I actually don't know if I like them or not, because I never really had them. And if I'd ever been encouraged or wanted to go get them especially when I was younger, it was like an absolute treat. And there was an undercurrent of stress about the finances if we ever invested in something like that. And there was an excitement around if we got a deal. And that program is really showing up quite strong now. And it's showing up in the way that I sabotage a lot of things. And like, I have such a reward center set up in my unconscious for getting a good deal or a great outfit from an op shop or a discount, or just telling myself a story that I don't need any of these things because they're a waste. And yet I know that so many of these things actually aren't a waste at all, especially for the long term, to be able to invest in clothes that actually last years rather than clothes that, oh, there's a rubbish truck outside the front door. Hopefully you can hear me. Clothes that last for years rather than clothes that last for a few months, or makeup that doesn't have toxins in it so that I'm not absorbing toxins directly into my bloodstream, or foods that actually fuel my body every single day rather than just the easy, quick stuff, or products for my hair that are tox-free. Like, there's so many benefits that I'm ignoring because I'm sticking to that old program and that autopilot of my own unconscious self-sabotage. And I get to now challenge the poverty girl in my consciousness and challenge each story that comes up around it and start to lean into massive discomfort and almost annoyance for me to start to actually spend money on these things. And that's unfamiliar for me. And instead, I'm just choosing to take her on a tour of some new nice things and see what we enjoy and see if I can challenge that story and that program in every single moment. And I'm wondering, it's a very loud noise out the window. I'm wondering, it's an interesting, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's incredibly loud noise outside the window. And this is like the mind. When we start to challenge any program that's so ingrained in us, the mind is like, I'm going to throw everything, every distraction, everything at you right now to stop you from getting to where you've decided you want to be, because I have no idea where that is, and that's unsafe. And I'm wondering what your next nudge through sabotage is. Is it related to your money? your relationship, your health, or your mental state. I'd love to hear from you if this episode and conversation has resonated, so that we can continue this conversation as it relates to you. Thanks for being here, guys.